Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I rank the best football card designs of 1994. I've felt kind of like a broken record talking about 1994 card designs, mainly with the worst of list because of the fact that everything just kind of ran together this year where most of the card designs were borderless with some gold foil. And it was interesting to see the different takes that everybody had. But for me, my memory of 1994 has never been a negative one. For me, it has always been kind of a semi-positive one where there aren't much in terms of highs for this year, but there's not much in terms of lows either. There's kind of this general area of, in general, most cards looked good. And that's because I was over on the football side of the camp where there was something kind of special about football card designs in the early 90s, driven primarily at the outset from Pro Set, which was raising all ships. All of the progress that Score made in card design was because Pro Set pushed them to do that. But they also pushed everybody else to do a lot better, so football was that kitchen where you had the best card designs really being crafted on a broader scale because of the competition. There were a lot of different card companies, and there was a lot of great stuff going on, and you had to be on top of it to really be able to make some noise. And so by 1994, that was the year where everybody just kind of hit a general level where it's almost like a vacation. Yes, you didn't have much at the high end, but you didn't have much at the low end either. You didn't have much in terms of absolute catastrophes. And so I look at the year, and the big thing about 1994 is the image selection was probably the best it would ever be, because everybody knew that's what we've got to focus on. And when I was putting together this list of the best cards, what surprised me was that I've got 8 cards here, and I don't know if this is the order that I would put them in, or if this was just the order they were in when I pulled them out, and I went, yeah, this looks right. Because there's so much consistency across the board of all of these cards where I look at them and I like them all, not the exact same amount, but I like them all. And I look at them and go, see, this is what was so great about 1994. Everywhere you looked, there were cards that were nice. Not every card, but there were cards all over that I just really enjoyed. And there are a number of probably 5 to 6 card designs that aren't even on here that are close enough. So that's the thing about the year. Every card does look different. It feels different. The experience was different. And yet at the same time, at the end of the day, the cards, I got to go, well, I like it. I like it. I like it. It's all kind of like it to really like it, but still, I like pretty much all of these. And well, all the ones on this list. But again, for different reasons. And of the 3 honorable mentions, the first one I'm starting with is a great example of this, which is Fleer. And 1994 Fleer is one of the hidden gems in all of card collecting, because the card is just done as a really nice, straightforward, elegant card, which is so understated you're never going to notice this card ever. You're never going to remember it. For me, whenever I look at these cards, it always does the same thing where I look at it and I go, wow, that's actually a really nice card. And I feel like I've never noticed this, or for a long time I felt like I've never noticed this before. I never noticed this before until that repetition got to the point where I always went, oh yeah, I totally forgot about this. I totally forgot about it. In a card collection, you have the variety is remarkable. And in that variety, there are great examples, there are lousy examples, but they all factor into the tapestry of the experience overall. And this is one of those cards that you're never going to notice, but as you stumble upon it, you go, oh, I'm glad I see this card. I like it because it's elegant. The white border basically gets out of the way. It's very clean, very straightforward. The images are strong, but that stenciled gold foil in it, once you notice it, which is almost impossible to see it, but once you notice it, then the image looks really fancy and you go, wow, this is cool. That's part of the fun of it, is finding these hidden gems that you may run into all the time, but they always feel like hidden gems. I'm glad I noticed it. And then you've got kind of the flip side with Fleer Ultra, Where Fleer Ultra has great images. They really did a phenomenal job of it. Bowman did a good job. There were a number of cases where the image selection for these cards, Pinnacle is another one, was great, but the card design holds them back. With Pinnacle, it's way too bold. With Ultra, it's only kind of bold, but that kind of bold is still very bold. That band at the bottom, the gold foil band, is an overpowering element on the card that is distracting. But the bigger issue is that stupid gold foil helmet that is just like a club that just hits you. And it takes away from the image itself. If you block that out, the image is so much stronger. But with it on there, it's too much of a distraction to where your eye keeps getting pulled, not in a way to explore the card as much as it gets pulled away from a focus on the image, which is a problem. They'd have to figure this out. And so, unfortunately for me, whenever I look at this card, I go, oh, the card is ruining incredible image selection. But it's not really ruining it. It's just limiting the capability of the images. But those images are amazing. And then, as a counterpoint to that, we've got Select. And Select is one that, to this day, it still fascinates me. And someday I may finally figure out exactly how the card is supposed to work. But with Select, the images tend to be really busy. Sometimes they're very simplistic. And when they get into the simplistic phase, they tend to be overly simplistic. It's kind of either or. But most of the cards have very busy images, and then you have that distracting gold foil football thing on the side, and then you have the inset image that is busy, that is a team color. And then if you really take the time to explore the card, you'll notice that there's like some gold foil text and some text behind it. And as you're looking through, you start to see all these pieces working together into a really interesting design. And the images are interesting. So like with Fleer, you've got to take the time for this card. But with Fleer, you don't have to take the time as much as you've got to take a moment to let the card be noticed. And then the card does the work. Here with Select, you've got to do all the work. But when you do it, you discover there's actually a really interesting card that is fun to explore and looks really good in a quirky way. And these three cards give a great example of just how intriguing 1994 is, that there's not the wide swings of cards, but when you get into all the little details, it is truly a treasure hunt of interesting things all over the place that are a lot of fun. And the cards do all look really good. Well, I shouldn't say all but at the upper end, all the cards look really good. But we are here for a top 5, and all the top 5 cards are successes. And that starts off with Skybox. And with Skybox in football, Skybox Premium, they figured out how to take the really elegant but at the same time flashy card designs they started out with in basketball and turn it into a straightforward, elegant card in football, where they just have a color fade on the back that goes over a very ghosted background so you don't even notice it. And then they have a great silhouetted shot of the player, a splash of gold foil for the logo, and that's it. But that's it. That's the thing. That's the point. That's all you needed to do. They did a great job. And selecting images for these cards, when you're doing this kind of a design, what you want to do, football's great. It has 4 different phases of how you collect images. Before the play, during the play, after the play, and sidelines. And when you're doing this kind of a silhouetted shot, it's best to do this before a play. Or on rare occasions within a play, you can get a really good silhouetted shot. But it means that all of these cards look like silhouette portraits of players where you don't happen to be able to see their face. But by using those images, these cards have a great consistency to where they all look really, really good. Again, this is not the flashiest card in the world, but in your card collection, these cards are really strong, nice looking cards. Very, very nice. It's not Skybox at its height, at its very best, but it's right up there. These cards just look great. And then on, again, kind of a counterpoint to that is when we move over to Topps. And I got to give Topps begrudging credit. I've never been a fan of 94 Topps designs, but as I've been looking at these, I've turned into a fan of 94 Topps designs. The cards they're working pretty hard. They're doing some heavy lifting. And that can be kind of distracting because, like in baseball, with a baseball diamond straight lines, it's a bit much and it doesn't really work with the card. In basketball, I think it's better, but again, it's a little bit too consistent. But in football, they have that football theme for the swoosh design, which allows really good counterpointing of, you got a big area here, a small area there, you've got splashes of color in different places, you've got movement in the card because of the angled proportions of how it works. And I look at this card and I go, kudos, dude, kudos. This card actually looks really nice. It's not a memorable card. In fact, over in baseball, when I collected the baseball card design, I did that in like 94 and 95. I threw the thing together, and maybe it was just Series 1, maybe Series 2. I really don't even remember collecting that set. 94 football, I never did collect it. I bought the set as a complete set about 2 years ago. That's the first time I had the set of 1994 Topps football. I never thought about it. It's one of those blind spots for me. 92 is kind of a blind spot. 94 is a huge blind spot because the card, there's nothing memorable about the card. But when I look at it, I go, that is a really, really nice card. That's what 1994 Topps is. It's a really, really nice card that, again, like with all these, is a fun part of the tapestry of my card collection. But the top three are all very distinct. And the first one is the most distinct of all of these, and possibly the most distinct card of 1994, which is Topps' finest for football. And this is a case where you gotta design a card right. One little mistake can ruin an entire card. And this card, when I look at this card, all I think is 1992 finest. Because it gets that jewel box quality of the enamel jewelry down so magnificently. I love this card. And yet, why don't I praise it? The reason I don't praise it is because that blue, that light blue around the outside is horrendous. It really is. And it always kills it. And so I've always remembered this card as such a disappointment. In fact, when I think of 1992 finest, I'm thinking of the 92 card design with all of the jewel box quality of 1994. And whenever I do look at 92, it's like it's missing something. And that's because this 94 card, I need the black border. In fact, tell you what, let's remove the blue and let's put a black border on it. And let's see how that work comes out. All that jewelry work in the middle of the card is incredible. I love this card. I do. This would easily be the front runner for best card design of 1994 if this is the way that it looked, but it doesn't. This is the way that it looks. And it just kills it all. Look, I know black is a cheat code and you shouldn't use it all the time, but if the card is designed for a black border, put a black border on it, not this stupid blue. What a disappointment. It really holds the card back. And so as much as I love the design on this card, it's not a good combination. It doesn't blend well. The top two, on the other hand, are perfect examples of the borderless design. Number two is Game Day. And now we're talking. This is really, I would say, tall boys at their best. Now, to me, I don't think any tall boy has matched the insert cards for 1993 Game Day. That is where they really mastered the whole thing in terms of having a border, etc. But in 1994, they stripped it away, and here they knew what they were doing. It's all about the image, taking advantage of the image, taking the opportunity. The image selection they did this also in baseball as well, but football, this is, I think, on another level. The image selection, phenomenal. And then that floating box down at the bottom with text, the way they did the text on it, great. I look at this card and I just go, this is so cool. To me, this is card collecting. This is it. For me, I came from a time where it was about teams and cards were about players, and this captures that perfectly. This gets that young collector in me going, where I just go, I'm celebrating this card or this player. It's all about this player. That's what this card is. It is a complete success. And yet I have it at number 2 because there's one card that does it just slightly better, which is Upper Deck. And here they fixed the mistake they'd done in the previous 2 releases of basketball and in baseball. Here they got it right. This is a card that's all about the image, 100% about the image. On the side, they have an accent. They have the image that rolls around through the backdrop behind the darkened fade at the top. They have a splash of team color at the bottom, and they have a little bit of elegant gold foil. And when I look at the card, I'm looking at the image. I see the design features on the side. I always see them. But they enunciate the image because it's the image that I'm looking at. Good image selection, good color saturation, all of that is great, but the elegance on the side just makes everything look so exquisite. Just like with Fleer, where the stenciling of the gold foil makes the whole card feel elegant, here they do that, but they do it in a bold, strong way where you always see it, but it never grabs your eye, ever. It's always there as an accent. That is the height of what Upper Deck was able to create with this whole borderless concept. And look, they would do an amazing job in 1995 as well. And I don't even want to try to debate between these two which one's better. But this is the height. This is where it works the best because you feel like it's just the image. And yet the border acts as an accent on that, not a distraction. Love it. But that's my list of the best card designs of 1994 for football. So, certainly feel free to talk about how you would shift things. I have a feeling that Finest is probably the one that people would most be interested in popping up to the top because it really is a great card design. I just can't get past the blue border. But apart from that, I'm curious to hear what your take is on it. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I do urge you to do so. And check out my other videos, and thank you very much for watching.